Hello and welcome to another episode of AI Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Today I'm going to be talking about machine learning careers, although I think this could be extended more broadly into other data-centric fields like data engineers or data analysts. The machine learning field is a really valuable one, and one of the reasons it's so valuable is the sheer number of directions that you can take it. It's one of those fields where you can pretty much mold exactly what you want based on your exact interests. Since it's comprised of so many different fundamental fields like mathematics, science, engineering, programming, you can really turn some knobs and dial up the components that you really like and scale back the ones you don't like so much. All right, so let's get into a couple of the different directions. I'm going to cover 5 of them that you could take a machine learning career, and I'll show you just how versatile it can be. The first one's going to be data scientist. This is no surprise. It's probably one of the first careers that you think of when you think of the machine learning field. The main task for a data scientist will be cleaning data and extracting value from that data, whether it be through data exploration, statistical modeling, developing of more predictive algorithms to try and predict future outcomes. The compensation is really good for this particular career path, and the work-life balance is really great as well. Second up is the machine learning engineer, which is going to be focused on some of those data scientist tasks, but it's also going to involve more broadly kind of the deployment aspect and the productionalization of the actual algorithms. A focus on the deployment of the model that gets trained is starting to evolve into its own field, which is called ML Ops, or Machine Learning Operations. I personally really like working at that intersection of data science and software engineering and kind of DevOps to actually take a model and try to actually put it into a production pipeline. If you are involved with deployment or anything really running live in production, that's where your work-life balance is going to potentially suffer. Because if you own this product, you're in charge of it, you're going to be expected to fix it when something goes wrong, and something will go wrong at some point. So again, I would say one of the main differences here is going to be that more focus on the deployment of the model rather than just trying to really crank up the accuracy of this model that you're training. It's going to be maybe less about that and more about getting this out there and start creating value for that company. The third direction that you could potentially take this career path is going to be in the realm of freelancing or consulting. Lots of companies are starting to spring up. Some have been around for a long time that will offer kind of a gig marketplace. And one of the most well-known ones is called Upwork. Upwork's going to be a great place to kind of get started if you want to go the freelance route. It's going to get you some of your very first customers, get you some maybe small-time data gigs, allow you to start kind of building up your portfolio. It can be really tough starting out on Upwork. There are a lot of data professionals willing to do this work for a very small amount of money. However, that's really where your skills and talents are going to have to come in. You're going to have to make sure you're really talented and are able to provide value that others in the marketplace won't. If you're not so much interested in kind of going the online freelance route through something like Upwork, consider reaching out to people in real life. Your connections will definitely be able to provide value here. It's very likely that you know someone in your network who is also looking to solve a data problem. Another option too, if you're just starting out, is to even volunteer on a project. If you just want to kind of put in a couple hours a week, kind of get your feet wet and start providing a little bit of value and also maybe building your resume and data side projects, consider offering some of your time for free at first. From there, once you have some really good foundational experience in sort of the freelancing world, you're able to take on more and more clients and potentially jump ship fully. From there, the sky is really going to be the limit. Since you're running your own freelancing business at this point, wherever you want to take it, you can go. If you want to be really selective about who you take on as a client, or if you really want to scale out and hire people underneath you to start doing some of the data work, that's all a real possibility. Here, a lot of the traditional business practices would apply. So you'd probably want your own website. You'd want to really have a good, strong network and continue to build that network, because that's really going to be your bread and butter. The fourth direction that you could potentially take a machine learning career is going to be contracting. So contracting is a pretty exciting direction, actually. It's going to look a lot like your traditional data scientist or machine learning role. However, these are, as the name implies, they're going to be short-term to maybe long-term contracts spanning 3 to 6 or 12 months. This would be for the type who really likes to change up domains or start new projects and not like things get stale. It's also going to allow you to potentially travel around the country or the world quite a bit. Another huge benefit here is that the hourly pay can be really high. Since the companies don't have to pay you as if you were a full-time employee, they won't cover your things like health insurance. You'll be on the hook for that, but that's reflected in a higher overall hourly rate. However, I expect if you're really skilled and have a really good network of connections who can vouch for you, provide good recommendations for you, I don't think you're going to have a huge issue finding the next contract. There's a lot of these contract jobs out there, and they are not able to find the skilled people to fill them. Last up would be considering to join a startup or even creating your own startup company centered around machine learning or data science. There are tons of new data science startups. I read about them all the time. These are popping up. They're developing either novel algorithms or they have this new data set that they've been able to kind of procure and finesse and get some additional value out of that. And that's really their value proposition. Just a few years ago, I remember when Data Robot was just starting out in the startup world, they had this value proposition of allowing the software to kind of tune and fine-tune your models and eke additional performance out. They started off really small, and now they're getting hundreds of millions of dollars in funding, and they're one of the tech unicorns. If you're going to be joining an existing startup, I think there's a really good chance that it could grow because the entire field of big data is just skyrocketing. However, be willing to work long hours and accept part equity for your pay package. And, it is possible that equity would end up being worthless if the company flops. If you're really interested in moving to a big tech hub like Silicon Valley, New York City, there are tons of startups to choose from. And, they're always looking for really talented people. So that's one additional way to stand out. If you're going the route of thinking to start your own, it's really easy to bootstrap a web application through a Python framework like Flask or Django to kind of show a minimum viable product. And then through the back end, you could have models powered through Amazon. There's tons of companies kind of bootstrapping and creating these products that aren't fully fledged products yet, but they're enough to kind of draw investors in and get them interested in an idea. Gaining investment would be really difficult as it is in any type of startup, but businesses and investors, I think as a whole, are starting to realize just how much of a hold that big data and data-centric companies and decision-making has and how big of a part in the future that's going to play. So I imagine if you have a convincing enough idea, you'd be able to definitely get some seed funding for that. All right, so those are the 5 directions that I picked that you could potentially take a career in machine learning. There are, of course, many more. The sky is really the limit. It provides such a good framework and kind of foundation in science, mathematics, programming, engineering. You can just really take it anywhere you want. If you receive training in machine learning, it's also really applicable to any of those fundamental fields that I mentioned, like software engineering, for example. If you know how to program and think critically, a lot of those skills are going to be really applicable, and you could pretty easily make the career jump, in my opinion. If you're just starting out in the field and have not broken in yet, I'm releasing a resume and cover letter template that you're going to be able to use and kind of model your own resume after. And it's going to highlight a lot of the data-centric components of your work experience and your skills to really give you that leg up that you're looking for. I'll put the link to pre-order that in the description box below. That's about all I have for you today. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see in the future. Also, if you are applying to jobs and you want to send me a resume to take a look at, use the email in the description box. I'd be happy to take a look and provide you some feedback. Have a good day. Bye.